Hey everyone, welcome to my kitchen. I'm Bethany, and today's recipe is one that I've been waiting to share with you. It's my Tuscan chicken with white beans. This is an incredibly flavorful dish. I would say it's one of my top favorite chicken breast recipes. This is so flavorful and the chicken breast comes out so tender. There's just so many things in this dish that pack it with delicious flavor. I'm really excited to share it with you. So let's get right into it. Okay, so the first thing that we want to do is prep our chicken for this dish. So before I start with that, I want to get my kind of rub ready for the chicken. So first we're going to do 3 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. I'm going to just place that on a plate. And I'm using flour because it just adds like a nice browning to the chicken, gives it a nice coating. And this is just enough for 3 chicken breasts. So if you're gonna do 4 chicken breasts, which this recipe totally can do, today I'm just doing 3, you can just do another tablespoon per chicken breast. And then to that, we're gonna season it with some garlic powder, half a teaspoon of paprika. This is gonna add a nice color and taste to the chicken. And then we're gonna do half a teaspoon of oregano. I'm using Sicilian oregano. And I'm gonna do half a teaspoon of this as well. Then we're gonna season this with a generous pinch of salt and then generous pinch of black pepper. Then I'm gonna use a fork to just stir that together. I like to use just enough flour for this part because I don't want the seasonings to kind of be drowning in a ton of flour, hence why I'm using just enough for the chicken breasts. So before we dip those in, I'm gonna prep my chicken breasts. I have them in a plastic bag here. I'm gonna pound these out. Meat pounder works or rolling pin, and this is gonna help give them kind of an even shape. Also, we're breaking down those muscle fibers because chicken breast can be kind of tough, and we really want it to be tender in this dish. So that should be good. So before we dip our chicken in, because we're gonna kind of go from the dish to the pan, I have a large saucepan heating up here on a low to medium heat. I'm gonna turn that up because it was on low. And now I'm gonna add to the pan 2 tablespoons of salted butter, and then 2 tablespoons of olive oil, or we're gonna be using sun-dried tomatoes in this dish. So what I like to do is use the olive oil that the sun-dried tomatoes are marinating in this dish. It has so much more flavor in it. So we're gonna do about 2 tablespoons of that. We'll get our chicken out of the bag and dip it in our flour mixture. We're not seasoning it before that, so that's why I pretty heavily salted this. And now we're gonna put that in our pan. There we go. You want that at a medium heat, not super hot, but just enough to really brown it for 2 to 3 minutes on each side. All right, so these have been browning for about 2 to 3 minutes. I'm gonna flip them. See that nice golden crust? That's what we want. And while the chicken's browning, we're gonna prep some of our other ingredients. So this is kind of one of those recipes that moves pretty quickly and you want the ingredients to be prepped. I'm not one to prep everything in bowls and such. And so I don't really like, having everything ready to go. I just kind of make things as I go. But this is definitely a recipe that you want all your ingredients ready to go out because it moves very quickly and there's quite a number of ingredients. All right, so I'm gonna do half of a large onion. You can use a small onion, 2/3 of a medium. We don't need a lot, and we're just gonna dice that up. And then these herbs are gonna be used a little bit later, but we're also going to chop up 2 teaspoons each of fresh rosemary and fresh sage. So after our chicken has browned, we're just gonna take it and transfer it to another plate. It's not fully cooked, it's just browned at this point, and we'll set that to the side. All right, so in the same pan, I have a good bit of butter and oil still in there, but I'm gonna add a little bit more of our sun-dried tomato oil. And then we're gonna add our onion. And we'll just stir that in there. I'm gonna add a pinch of salt. There's a lot of brown bits in there, but those are gonna come up once we deglaze the pan. And we'll cook this until the onions are soft. So probably 3-4 minutes. And if you've never made Tuscan chicken before, it's also known, I believe, as Marry Me chicken. And I guess the whole concept behind that is if you make this for someone, it's so good that they'll want to marry you, which I think this dish is delicious. However, if I wanted someone to marry me, I'd probably make them a ragu. That's just me. I think, yeah, bolognese, short rib ragu, those are very impressive. But this is delicious, don't get me wrong. But I don't really understand why we would choose a chicken dish for that. So anyway, it's delicious though. And while we're cooking our onions, I'm gonna get my sun-dried tomatoes ready. We're gonna use about 3 tablespoons of these. And we're just gonna chop the sun-dried tomatoes pretty small. The sun-dried tomatoes are so good in this dish. They're kind of a highlight ingredient. And when you get a bite of those, when you're eating this, it is so good. Just makes everything delicious. Okay, and our onions look like they are ready to go. Next we have our garlic cloves. We're gonna add that to our onions. And I'm doing 4 garlic cloves. With the garlic, we're gonna add our chopped rosemary and sage, and then a generous pinch of red pepper flakes, just for a touch of heat for the dish, nothing spicy. And then we're gonna just stir those in there. Just for about 30 seconds, we'll cook everything. This really helps the fresh rosemary and the sage come out in flavor, as well as blooming the heat in the red pepper flakes. And the garlic does not need long. And after we've cooked the aromatics, we're gonna add a tablespoon of tomato paste, and then our sun-dried tomatoes. And we'll stir that in just for about a minute. What this is gonna do is really help build flavor with that tomato paste, so that we're not just adding it to help thicken the dish. It's gonna actually build flavor by cooking it a little bit. This recipe is not one of those dump it and let it cook type recipes. We're intentionally building flavor with every step. So we cook the aromatics, then we cook the tomato paste, then we cook the rest of the sauce. So lots of steps, but they pay off because it's delicious in the end, and we're building really good flavor. All right, so next we're gonna deglaze the pan with 2/3 cup of white wine. So I'm using Pinot Grigio. You can use any dry white wine that you'd like to use. And we'll just stir that around. We'll cook off a little bit of that alcohol and also just scrape the bottom. This is looking great, smelling delicious. Seriously smells so good. So now that that's cooked down, I'm gonna add 1.5 cups of chicken stock. Then we're gonna add 1 14-ounce can of white beans. I'm using navy beans. You can use cannellini. Any white bean works. Stir those in. The beans add such a nice heartiness to the dish. I love them in this. Plus they're creamy. They have that nice creamy bean consistency, so it goes really well with all the ingredients. Then, because I'm not huge on a lot of cream in this dish, I'm only adding just a couple tablespoons of a heavy cream. So we're gonna do about 2 tablespoons, 2 to 3 tablespoons of heavy cream. Stir that in. You can make this as creamy as you like, but I think it's perfect with just a little touch of the cream. Next, we're gonna add about 1 cup of freshly grated and finely grated Parmigiano Reggiano. This is gonna add such rich flavor to the whole thing. And this goes nicely with the cream. So we're not overkilling it with cream. Nice little cheesiness to add to it. We'll mix that in. Then we'll season this with a pinch of salt and a pinch of black pepper. Okay, then we're gonna add some fresh spinach. We have a lot here. I typically like to use about 4 to 5 ounces of fresh spinach, and it will wilt down in this. And we'll stir that in there. All right, so our spinach has been cooking for about 2 minutes, so it's cooked down a little bit now. So we'll add our chicken breasts that we browned earlier back to the pan, and they'll finish cooking in this process. We'll kind of nuzzle them in. All right, and now we're gonna partially cover the pan. I like to just partially cover it. I don't wanna trap all the moisture in there, but if you release too much moisture, it'll reduce down a little too much. So we'll let the chicken cook for about 4 to 5 minutes, just enough for it to fully cook through. We've already browned it, so it doesn't need much time, and just enough time for everything to develop and flavor, and it'll reduce just a little bit. So we'll let that cook and then we'll serve it. Okay, so we're ready to taste test. My mom has joined us, Barbara.
We couldn't find Dad, so I came up.
Yeah, I was trying to find Dad, but he's not around. But I'm excited to have you here because you actually have not tasted this dish, or I've not made it for you. I made it for Dad.
But we've had many chicken recipes.
Yes.
From you that are great, and I think because I've made chicken so much in my life, it's great to taste somebody else's recipes.
Yeah. So, and this is one that I've loved. So I'm excited for you to try it. We can just cut a little piece off.
Okay. And what are the greens in it?
Oh, so it's spinach. We have some
From the garden?
No.
I had so much spinach from the garden.
Oh, I could have used yours. But there's sun-dried tomatoes. There's white beans. Some white wine, Parmigiano Reggiano, lots of stuff for flavor. So, and you want to serve it with that white bean sauce over top. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no rush.
Really, really tasty. I can taste a little bit of the, of course, the cheese, but the sauce is delicious. Mm-hmm. And you know me, I'm not a really big beans person, but they taste delicious.
Yeah, they really work in
Really
this
good.
dish.
Really good.
Well, great. I'm glad you enjoy it.
Well,
and
thank you.
Yeah, this is one that Dad loved this. I made this for him like a year ago when you were out of town, and he loved it. So I was excited for you to try
All right,
it.
well, thank you so much for having me up. I'm taking this home.
Yeah, thanks for coming. Well, that's everything for today. I hope you guys try this dish, especially because I really do think it's one of the best or one of the better chicken breast recipes to try. It is packed with so much flavor. I love the addition of the beans. They add a nice creaminess. We have some greens from the spinach, lots of pops of flavor. So I hope you guys enjoy it. You can pair it with a salad or even some potatoes or bread. Pair it with some nice white wine. It's delicious. So I hope you guys enjoy it. And as always, I'll catch you in the next recipe and I'll see you in the comments.